Hello, everyone. Mike Arnold here, co-founder, Path Trading Partners, along with Bob Iacino. By the way, Bob will be on tomorrow morning, not tomorrow afternoon. He will be traveling, and Thursday is up in the air. So you can mark your schedules in case anybody just tunes in for the Bob. You gotta watch tomorrow morning, and then I'll let you know about Thursday. It all depends. All right. How is everyone doing? George, get your horns out. You mean like the horns you blow or your bull horns? I guess a bull horn would be a horn you talk through, but I meant the horns that you strap on your head. Huh. Interesting. Patrick, hello. Sterling was so busy today, he never even had a chance to glance at the market. You know, I'm getting so frustrated with the car market too. I'm just getting so frustrated, still trying to get a car. Extended my lease. You know what? For the dealers are still, the markups just absurd. You know, oh, it's just driving me crazy. Driving me crazy. You can't believe. I will even tell you what I was quoted for a car. I shorted the Nasdaq before the close. Is that a stupid idea? If you had a signal, did you have a pattern? Did you have something you were trading off of? It's just I shorted it. You know, to me, that's if I don't have a reason to be in the trade, which means a pattern that's been triggered. I don't, I mean, you can trade your own plan. If that's your plan, I can't comment on it. I don't know what signal you used. You might very well have one. So if you have a signal, it's not a stupid idea. If you're just shorting it because you're shorting it, well, you know what? If I think that's not very smart. Now, if you're saying George, very stupid in G because you're very bullish right now and he might be bearish, if he has a signal, it could be smart. If he has a probability behind that signal, then therefore it's a valid trade. If it's just different from yours, it's not stupid. So why I have to trade patterns and setups because I can. If I just trade what I think, then I am the indicator. And I don't want to be the indicator because we can all get caught up in stuff. A real snoozer today from Paul, and it could be a snoozer again tomorrow. I was sort of joking in the title of this. We did have a melt up Monday. It went up. But, you know, I doubt we're going to get a major turnaround Tuesday. It will probably be a back and forth day tomorrow. Who knows, though? I just don't have any fantastic signals right now, other than the short term. Hey, AP's World. Hello, all surprisingly strong pre-election from Christoph. I didn't think so. You know, we were so oversold last week. It continued bounce. But if you take a look at it still in the context of things, and now everything's going to, I think, pivot off the election. Shorted it from resistance. Is that, did you have a, see, now this is interesting conversation because I just won't buy against support or short against resistance. I need a pattern against those levels. Okay, at least some breakdown pattern or breakout pattern, which at least you have a reason shorted it against resistance, but resistance could be turned into support overnight. Who knows? I mean, that's why I was wondering what pattern you had. Boy. Do you have a signalator? What is that word? Pattern to short? I don't have a signal pattern to short. Unless one just formed. Hopes to jump through to keep my 93 pickup on the road in California are ridiculous. Driving a 93, that's got to be fun. The stuff is just crazy. Does the market react to who wins the elections? Yes, it will. It will, but there's so many nuances to this. If you're just trying to buy something, you first off this or what races are contested. I don't know if it's all going to be resolved by Wednesday. I don't think it will be. If it is resolved by Wednesday and the Republicans sweep, I think it's short-term bullish. I do. Not because, I'm an independent person, leans libertarian. Not the kind of Elon libertarian with, I just don't want the rules to apply to me. I want some rules. But if you're not going to enforce stuff like the SEC is a complete joke, then I don't want to pay for it with my tax dollars. You know what? National defense. Can we get the IRS out of the way and just go, why don't we just do a national sales tax too? That way everybody's got to pay depending on how much you consume with certain things not taxed. Then we don't have this the IRS, don't get me, I'll get started, but it's more of an enforcement and control thing. I don't have a problem paying taxes for legitimate reasons, like national defense. However, the IRS and our national tax code is a complete and utter mess and joke, just like most of the rest of the government. But we do need some rules. We can't just live in chaos. I want all the bums out. I want 95% of these clowns out. Literally, this is the best we can do. I guess most people who have have at least common sense, have enough common sense to not run for political office. All right, but what does that have to do with the markets? And we've probably, guess what? If you're still here, you want to subscribe. We do some really good technical analysis, at least I think so. Have some interesting commentary back and forth on the market. You don't have to agree. You can be bullish, you can be bearish, you can be Democrat, you can be Republican, you can be independent, you can be libertarian. We accept all kinds here. Look at that. Look at the inclusivity here. I am feeling inclusive today. Oh, boy. LOL, more like national offense. I said national defense. We keep getting involved in way too much crap. Okay? But I'm not going to turn this into a political show. Let's vote them all out. Is that an option? Can I choose not just none of the above? Can I choose GTFO? Like, I wish there was you could mark somebody and just say GTFO after their name, and if they get enough GTFOs, they're booted. And if you have to ask what GTFO means, can we have that option? That would make elections a lot more fun. Oh man, I pissed them off, and I was told the GTFO. I gotta leave. Wouldn't that be great? All right, tomorrow, if you didn't guess, it's midterm elections. Can the market still trade off of exit polls? Yes. I wish just exit polls would be disallowed. All right? It's actually an interesting way you can try to influence results in my book. Just like early tallies should be disallowed, especially when polls are still open across the country. But that's another story. Beyond that, Red Book, very minor tomorrow. IBD and economic optimism, minor. It'll be interesting to still, but those aren't really going to move the market. Stock market today, you had some rally in mega caps, especially Microsoft. Tesla still taking it in the shorts. Utilities getting beat up today. Energy still doing well. If you look at the sector, you see utilities beat up and consumer cyclical beat up. Communication services bounce. Does that mean we should all rush in and buy comm services? No. It's just coming off an oversold bounce. If I had $1 for every time people in the last 6 months wanted to buy communication services and then it just rolled over again, I'd have what? Probably since the rollovers, I'd have $10. All right, 50-50 still on December Fed watch. Greed and fear still in greed mode. After Lyft which is in the toilet anyways, pretty substantial gap down. I did not see Activision Blizzard. At least I did not see their earnings, and it was pretty flat when I looked at it before. I did not look at Mosaic, if anybody has that information. Tomorrow, definitely market moving Party City. That was sarcastic. I am sort of interested in DuPont. But then that's about it. After the close tomorrow, in case we don't get to it, because Bob's going to be on the live stream. Disney, am definitely interested in. AMC, I just want to see how far in the toilet that thing's going to go. And that's, Affirm, from where the consumer, how much they're utilizing credit, and if there's any more charge-offs or delinquencies going on. So, where do we sit? Hey, Michael Anthony. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I agree we need term limits. Message 1 of 2. Majority of Americans back new stimulus checks to, yeah. So we're gonna combat inflation by handing out more free money. Which then what are people going to spend it on? Goods and services, which keep going up in price. People, I don't know what to say. But if it's free money, when are people going to, for the most part, turn down free money? Survey found 63% of the respondents said they only strongly agree when asked the federal government should issue new stimulus. Oh, boy. And we get what we deserve, don't we? You know, this country's got to at some point go through some hard times to at least get people to wake up and get their friggin' head out of their rear end. All right. Where do we sit? By the way, we've had the rotation for the last 2 days off. Remember, we watched for the pullbacks, 50 to 62.5, and we've had 2 rotation back up days. We still have the longer-term pattern in place. It has not been invalidated on the S&P. Daily cycles now turning up. Weekly cycles still at the top. We have reacted once to weekly rotation zone. By the way, so if we do, here's something from the bigger perspective. For all those short people, a front run would be a breakdown below this 3,700 area, which is last week's low. 3704.25, I'd be watching 3,700. And then if it closes below 3661.75, continue to tackle the short side. The challenge with the short side is you have the run smack dab into the 200 on the weekly. There's a fair amount of support down here. It's why it's challenging to be short. Those are front run patterns. At least if you got the close below 62.5, it would favor continued downward price action. Now, for the longer term bull case, you still have weekly cycles at the top. You have daily cycles turning up. However, until it can get a close above the rotation zone, you're relying on these other patterns, yet you don't have a clear, you have contradictory signs after the first rotation zone down. I still have to stick with the bullish patterns in the short term. Regardless what you think about the elections, I have to stick with probabilities. By the way, if this was a shoulder, head, and another shoulder rollover, it's a downward sloping neckline, which does not test out well. We can use projections from a horizontal neckline if this fits in certain parameters, which I will have to check out. It's something I'm going to teach once I release some more stuff. We've tapped against the 50 to the upside. Beyond that, we do have a daily clear path to the upside, and you can see the pausing points on the stopping points, which is continued rally 38.43. Then another key area would be roughly about 38.62, then 38.74. How do you utilize those levels? Either as profit taking or raise a stop. If you want to know shorter term, Follow. This is enough of a reaction. You can follow this. So if we start getting a close back below about 37.48, retest the low area and possibly break the low area. But tomorrow I doubt that's going to happen. If I had to bet, it would be choppier, but that's how I'd use the reverse harmonics. Let's see. You like the Party City move? You don't think it's going to move the market, Ted? Well, you are giggling, huh? Giggling. By the way, this is not a double bottom. So that's where we stand on a continued bullish move overnight. I'd be using 38.43. If you want to use your harmonics, your shorter term harmonics, this would be the key areas you'd want to utilize. It just tapped off of here, so you want an intermediate level. It would be 38.30. It's completely valid to use the harmonics there. NASDAQ finally breaking out. Also remember, these breakout zones are key support now. So back to the S&P, I didn't cover that on a pullback. Minor would be this 38.06. I do 3800 to 38.06 as a pullback area, especially for overnight. Right there. And then the larger pullback area would now be right around here. This has pretty decent significance. Rejected over here. Tested, broke, rejected there. On the longer term basis, close below, close below, close below, close right at, run away above, close right at, and then reaction to it. So this has some minor significance. This is exactly the way you want to start trading yourself to find key levels. That can be used for a breakdown play, depending on whatever else you have going on. B, it can be used for a nice trailing stop level on a closing basis. And the closing basis would be based off the dominant time frame it bears the most significance with. In this way, I found it on a 4-hour time frame, so I'd need a 4-hour close. Why do I say that? And this is where people get confused. Going to just do a minor bit of teaching here. Hopefully people don't mind, because a lot of times markets will react to a level that is significant but not close below it, because below it, and conversely above it for resistance, but this area would be below it. See, we had a rejection. So let me go over this. It's now becoming support. Dip below, close above. Testing, close above. So it's been support. Close below. Tried to get a little above, but close right on it, then the rollover play. Now this is resistance at that point. If I'm going to scroll this over, see, this is still resistance. Rallied up, tried to get above, and this is really handy to follow the rotation zone concept with the key levels, but closed below. So was it broken on a closing basis? All the people who tried to buy this little breakout level, it closed below. Now you run it back up, closed way below. It's still resistance. So if you're using this on a longer term short stop level, it's still held because it's significant on a 4-hour chart. This one peaked above, closed below, and then it paused a bar. Then it closed right at it, and then finally it broke. But you see from the bearish side how much it rejected the price action. So now this is key support. So if the market turned around, had a tail down here and still closed above it, I would not be utilizing it as a stop. That being said, I also have stops that are, I call their walkaway stops. What's a walkaway stop? A walkaway stop is a stop I don't have to wait for a bar's close. And it would not be right here. A walkaway stop gives it more room that if it trade below before a bar's close, I'm out. Why is it called, for my from my perspective, a walk away stop because you get to walk away. And I don't like, I could go, they could launch me to the moon and my stop would be in place. I can't be launched to the moon and be doing something on a closing basis. Why? If I'm in Earth orbit, I'm not going to be checking to see my stop level. And by the way, I'm not planning on traveling to the moon, so you don't have to worry, the live stream will continue. So that's a great little lesson on how to pick out some key levels and utilize just price action. Pure price action. We get rid of all these other silly things. Pure price action. There's so much in price action that people don't look for. That's staring them in the face. And they're just, what magic indicator can I put up next? And they're overlooking. If I had to trade with a chart like this, it can be done. I like a little more information if it's my option, but this is completely tradable. So, same thing. Concept of clear path moves. Completely tradable. Oh boy. Fantastic. Speaking of the car business, check out Carvana. Carvana they're gonna either have to be, I've talked about this I think last week, Carvana's gonna have to be restructured. They're gonna have to do interesting financing or they're going bankrupt. Set the stop and take the puppies for a walk. And AB Tesla PE ratio 64. What and what? So that's a little market lesson. How many people did I lose off of that? Look at the valuable content of this live stream. Continued rally in the NASDAQ. You got a major target here. 1100. 1195. 11,100. It would 95 to 100. Key support. My support zone for overnight is here. Maybe I'm going to go a little lower. Why? Am I going slightly lower because an emotional candle close? And it's a zone, so I can widen it out a bit. So my support zone's 10,942 to 10,980. If you want to use your retracement harmonics. And look, I got a 25 right below that area, so I know it's right between the 12.5 and 25. So that's, again, verification from a harmonic standpoint of just price action. By the way, these levels are no longer. So that's my pullback level. The key thing, if you're trying to front run something for the bear side, I couldn't do anything until we got a close below 10,787. And that's also near a breakdown area and out of the way of all the support then. That's why it's helpful to pay attention to some of the stuff I teach, even if you don't trade the market, because you can use the same concept on anything. Stocks, foreign exchange, cryptos. I've tested it on all these things. I've even tested a bunch of stuff on cryptos when cryptos got super popular and beside the volatility. And I'm not talking your small little crap coins that were just like easily manipulated. I'm talking some of the bigger cryptos holds up. The Dow should still eke out the zone, bounced off key level right here that we had up on the chart from this morning, end of the clear path move, just shy of the 87.5. Still watching for the probabilities to complete. We still have a little more upside at least. Area I'd be watching for, key pullback with the 4-hour rotation zone. The pullback zone would roughly be about 32,617 to 32,593 with the rising 4-hour rotation zone. Other than that, Dow. Can this be traded as a double? Yes. This can be traded even with this road. This is all part of one bigger top area from the larger time frame. Therefore, we need a daily close below this base. A daily close, and hopefully by then the rotation zone would be out of the way. So I can turn these around. I'd actually use the conservative targets, but, and I will update that if it breaks down, because then I'll have the right-hand side if it's more conservative. Where did that take us? Can't make this stuff up. If this were to trigger, it essentially takes us back to the breakout zone. And this is the breakout zone I'm talking about. So you had resistance, finally broken, becoming support. The launch off pad, if we triggered this double, this should be something the bears would want to watch. Doesn't have to happen. Long way off from triggering, but there's your bear. That's virtually the only bearish pattern I have right now. So far. Not one yet on the S&P. There might be one tomorrow. Don't know. Russell. Not much. Not much going on. We'll glance at that tomorrow morning. DAXy still pausing against that 200. Peek at that tomorrow morning. Notes are just a mess. The only short-term thing I'm keeping an eye on overnight is this. Other than that, watching now for a breakdown possibly. This is price action has been absolutely atrocious with this. Broke down below key support. So the only, I'm watching still for a retest of this low area. I went over this morning. The only other thing would be a quick pop to the upside. If it did shoot to here, I'd start watching for a potential shake and bake pattern. Dollar index back into the trigger area for this double top. Again, still watching this on the weekly basis, especially with elections. If it does break, though, below 109.17, we'll use this 107.50 area for short-term target. VIX. We had that gap up and then the gap fill, still watching for a lower price action in the VIX. Crude tried to eke above this level. You know how I watch for breakouts. You know the little thing. Watch for the breakout and a retest and a rotation back up. Collapse back down. Now this did form a little potential, is that? Yeah, little potential double. So that's the only thing I'm keeping an eye on there. I wanted to point something out here. I'm still trying to get this video out. Gold asked the question, does a 50 in the way lower the probabilities just ever so slightly? It finally got it looks like we got the daily close now. It is officially triggered on the daily. Is officially triggered on the daily. If you're looking for an intraday play, though, you break the 50 intraday, that's definitely tradable to the upside. This is a valid double top pattern. If you're not in a trade already and you get the 4 hour, and this can be also done in the 1 hour, on the 1670 level, then you could watch for a bigger pullback before entering the gold trade. Would that stop it out? No. This pullback would just be a pullback actually right in front of the prior breakout zone. So it would be a pullback that would not invalidate that pattern. Let me just see if there's anything. Where do we sit? You gained my attention in reference to poked in a touch late. Glad to catch the lesson. As always, appreciate your hard work. Thank you, Brian. I really do hope this helps people. Good afternoon. Thanks for all you do. Is there a particular video I can learn the terms you use, i.e. harmonics? Best thing to do is keep turning in. Yes, there are some videos. I don't, at this point, how many videos do I have up on this channel? I don't even know. I've lost track, but there's videos on how I set up my charts. I use harmonics instead of fibs. I've covered that repeatedly. If you just search the channel for some keywords, I don't remember what crazy classrooms are up there. Somebody'd have to help me. I've lost track of the videos, but there's a lot of stuff up here for complete free. Oh, no problem. Doubles, you know, I pulled down the doubles course because I'm going to be releasing a new one, so you can't even buy the old one. I pulled down a lot of the old courses because I actually don't want people to buy them. I would rather have them if they wanted to buy something, buy only the new stuff. Even if people don't come back to buy, I would rather have them just buy, if they want something, buy something new rather than, not that the old stuff's invalid. It's just I fine-tuned it much better since then. Could I do a breakdown on TLT? Hi, Dr. Michael. Let me get through some stuff and then I'll look. Bitcoin. Is this in the weekly rotation? Yes, it's still, I pointed that out before. It's still in the weekly rotation. Is this a substantial enough move for a rotation back down? Not yet. You'd be watching it to break below the breakout level and below the daily rotation zone. And if you wanted to give it a little more room, I would use about, the advanced warning would be 20,345. If you want a little safety area, it's about 20,150. 143, we have a harmonic, we have the 50 on the daily, and then that goes right into the parts of this clear path move. And then you get snapped in on one side, and then could be a complete play down the other side. But so far, this is just a normal pullback. I know we had the Tesla thing with the PE, Tesla breaking down. By the way, the PE, if you have earnings contraction, can go up. Key close so far on the daily is this is the lowest close since when? This is the lowest close since back in June of 21. Also, now this overhead stuff has become resistance. So 207, 206, 207 is key resistance. Again, as I said before, next minor target area is 194. Next major target area is 180 roughly. And yes, I think we'll see it. Yes, you can have rallies. Before then, you will have rallies. But this is not something I'd be trying to aggressively bottom pick for long term. It would just be short-term trade to the upside, long-term trades to the downside. Hello, options 22. What is the cycle indicator? It's a stochastic RSI. 833s are the parameters I'm using on it. Hey, Gary, everybody give a big shout out to Gary, the golfer, for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gary, a wonderful supporter of the channel, and I'd like to really acknowledge that. It's how we keep the channel free for everybody. Thank you, Gary. Yes, Jacob, you had it right. It's the stochastic RSI. Where else do we sit? We had some stock stuff. Let's just peek at a couple stocks. I see we have the TLT. What else did I miss besides the crap comments on here? And I'm not referring to the people, I'm referring to the bots. I'm looking TTWO. Take two. Getting the old smackdown. Whew. Betcha they was their earnings report that? Oh, it must have been bad. It must have been bad. I'm just curious here. Well, that finished that rule. Now we got to scroll it out. Ugh. And that PE is still insane. That's good enough. Oh. Now, love how these harmonics line up. Wow. Absolutely love it. Next major target, by the way, is 85.20. Right there. Look at that. Look at that. Little blip down that 50% harmonic back to the 37.5. Now back down 87.5. You might get a bounce off of there. Let's take a look at that weekly. Oh, broke out of there. Yeah. Boy, if you see, and this isn't for the short term, but you start breaking below 85. Next key area, look at this little support. Look at these harmonics. You gotta love harmonics. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. But look at this, that 75 right at that prior now it would be resist or support ledge. That 62.5 right there. Oh, I know, I'm strange. Very strange market analysis guy. Key resistance also, if you're trying to play something, in case there's somebody aggressive trying to play something, your $100 mark right here is going to be, if you're trying to play for a gap fill, that would be a target before the gap fill area. So that take two. Does anybody have the earnings report for that? And then what else do we have? We had take two, just getting the crap beat out of it. Roblox is just not much going on. You got earnings on Wednesday. Why isn't it moving? Because you got earnings Wednesday. The key level, again, I touched on Roblox. Nothing's changed. 33.74 to the downside. To the upside, can't get bullish until above about 46.50. Now let's get to some other things. Do I do a breakdown on TLT, the long-term treasury ETF? Yes, I can. I can. And I shall. I think a lot of, yeah, I like to trade the bonds better, but there's nothing wrong with trading the ETFs. Close below the 62.5 today, and the final target from this double and the 87.5, we should still see lower prices in this sucker. And then see caught on the daily rotation zone. The weekly rotation zone just overhead. So The only bullish pattern at this point, which is a long way off from triggering, is that double. Yes, it is valid even with this hitch in it. That's a long way off from triggering. 97.90. Now let's take a look. It's handy to go through all the time frames. And it looks like the weekly rotation zone would be out of the way into a weekly clear path move and before the other side. So this is completely tradable, even on the higher time frames. Does that mean it's a buy here? No. This could be invalidated. We already have the target area from the double top below. It's met the parameters for the longer term double, but that doesn't mean anything. And this is not something I'd aggressively front run way based off that daily rotation zone. If we do break down to new lows, this is an exact area you want to use reverse harmonics. There you go. There's your breakdown levels to the downside. Cycles are at the bottom, just like the notes, still turning up for the weekly. So the only thing I'd be playing would be it need to get for a lot higher price action before bullish trade would be initiated. Everything else would just be micro scalping. All right, we'll just do a couple more. So are people still here? It's awfully quiet in the chat. BCS. Barclays. Now this was already triggered. This has at least symmetry with the shoulders. So that is triggered. Okay. So now we put on our and a gap above is the technical break of the neckline. Stop production. Look at this. Stop production right before you fill this longer term gap. So here's your targets to the upside. Got your reaction at the 50. Chip away, through it, reconfirmed it from the other side. So 729. Look at the gap fill in the second target. 755 and the gap fill target is 753. 781 and you have another gap fill. That is funny. That is funny. Now, when you see stuff like this, does it make you mean you bet the farm and say that's got to be guaranteed? No. Nothing's guaranteed. Just want to check out a couple things. These are the harmonics I'd be utilizing. By the way, where's it invalidated? What I'm going to put on just moving up to stop aggressively here. Right now it'd be back below 637 on the closing basis. Once it hits this target, roughly around there, your stop at has to be above at least 640 on a closing basis, and you could even bring that a lot higher based off this price action. But that's the analysis of here. Let's look at the weekly because it's the weekly rotation zone. It is flattening out. And please do not ignore this first target. Why? This is a major breakdown zone. So there is going to be some substantial resistance right overhead. So you'll want to take that into account. And do not crowd the stop too much from my perspective. Why? You could see a pretty decent reaction, a little pullback area from that breakdown zone. Gabriella, thank you for being here. Oh, you can always say hi. So I keep quiet. Well, you can always say hi. Remember. And Daniel shouting out Gary the golfer. You're welcome, Royal Palms. I feel like that's like I feel like I should be gambling. I feel like I should be like playing some blackjack at the Royal Palms. Is Nvidia getting close to a top at 50% retracement? Off this other, which 50%? We just tapped off the harmonic. There's no great topping pattern here just yet. Take a look. There is no great topping pattern just yet. So from my perspective, it would be trailing a stop from the longs. The only breakdown play would be below about 129.30, 129. But there's no strong topping pattern just yet. The key area I'd be watching for is the retracement of this down move from the highs back in August to the lows in October. The bigger area I'd be watching for is if it puts in a top between about 150 and 161. And you still have the gap overhead magnet. And yes, earnings on the 16th. Is it this Wednesday or next Wednesday? Because I don't see, it's got to be next Wednesday for earnings. Does somebody just verify that? Because I don't have earnings off two sources this Wednesday. Because you have earnings due out on Wednesday after hours, but I have it next Wednesday after hours. Can somebody confirm or deny that, since I don't want to sit and search during a live stream? If it is next week, you still have a fair amount of upside. I would not ignore this potential gap fill, especially if the markets are stronger going into earnings next week. I would not discount this gap fill prior to earnings. All right, take two, 130 a share on net bookings of 1.5 billion. Analysts have expecting earnings of 137 on year-over-year basics. Earnings fell 20%, while net bookings up 53%. Interesting. Well, wow. So there are more bookings, but making less money. So it's next Wednesday. Thank you, Royal Palms. Thank you, Paul. I would just want to be correct, because if I make a mistake, I want it to be put out there. I don't want to give people misinformation. Given it's next Wednesday, I would not be doing. I'd just be trailing from alongside, unless you want to do a micro play for this other gap fill, and there's a lot of overhead resistance right in here. But there's no strong short setup yet. And they guided way down for next quarter. Thank you, Paul. AP World, thank you for shouting out the channel. Subscribe. Thank you. You got it, Paul. 50% at the 150. Let me just look at Intel. Inverse head and shoulders. It can be traded that way. It can be traded that way. Shoulder. This is where it gets ugly, but this would have to be the shoulder right here. A little ugly, but this would be the shoulder. See, no. trying to find that. Oh, you almost have to use that. That's the only way it's tradable from that, which was a while ago, and that's horribly sloppy. I mean, at least you got the confirmation with the kiss the neckline, but buy. Let's just see where the targets go. I'm curious now. And you've essentially nailed the targets already right at this key resistance. So, no, you can't trade it with this because this does not work for a shoulder. Upon looking closer, it does not work. That's why I got to verify stuff. And no potential double yet. So you got, and by the way, this is still the gap fill. So many people get that wrong. It gap filled to the open, not to the close. So you still have a gap fill below. What will be interesting, it's already chipped away once at the 50. This 50 is still a magnet. If it closes above there, that's still a really nice case for this. For people looking, this is just a quick lesson for people looking to, I talk about trading this around a core position. This was a great area against the 50 to sell some short-term covered calls and let this burn through something. There'll be multiple opportunities to get in this. Do not worry about that. But that's where it sits right now. If it breaks through to 50, I'll use your short-term harmonics as the next target. This can be used for raising stops if you're just long the stock, or again for selling options against. And this is a very key level right here. Breakdown zone, harmonic, 30, 35. I'm just going to do this one more thing. Natty Gas got a pop today. Yep. Where is it? There it is. Couldn't even see it. What I didn't like today with that pop was it did not close above this resistance. I'm watching for a pullback area, especially based off this price action, a pullback area in about 632 to hold. A pullback into roughly 645 to 632 in the short term. I got to get going. Netflix, it's the only thing keeping it up. On any rally, it's now turning into a sell. It should still longer term fill this gap, but would not be surprised based off where it is between the 50 and the 62.5 to see a little counter trend rally. Remember, the strength of this counter trend rally is going to be very telling. Would this be something, if you were looking for a potential short-term bullish play, a break above today's high and then confirmed by a daily close would be a short-term bullish play? I'd be definitely raising stops at 272, and the first major target area would be 279.50 to 280. That is aggressive to the upside, but it'll probably get... And you could keep a stop below. Again, I can't give specific trading advice. I don't know you or your account size. Where I would keep the stop would be below today's low. Give it a little room because of the 50. You break down below that 50, going to see this gap fill. So that would be the only tight bullish play at this point. That would be about it. The counter trend move, the only way I'd hold it for a retest of the high areas if I was trailing a stop and it got a close above 285.55. So if this was here, be ratcheting up a stop because it's an aggressive bounce play, and the only way it would turn into a slightly longer term hold at this point would be the close above 285. Other than that, definitely I would be taking something off the table at 279.50, 279, right in that area, if it can get that high. The key thing, though, is to get a close back above the declining 200 and also the 265.50. So beyond the close of today's high, the next key element you're watching for is that to regain the 200. And if it can't get above this 278, then I'm really focused on the return into this congestion area. That also would mean the markets are pretty friggin' weak. So that's how you dissect something. Now, is this for somebody who is looking for a long-term entry in Netflix? No. I want to clarify that. No. This is for a shorter-term pop swing trade, not a long-term buy. We will probably get another retest of much lower areas in the longer term. This would be for short-term swing trades also. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope everybody learned something. If you're new here, again, please do consider subscribing. Even if you don't understand something, you tune in. I teach a lot of stuff here. And I know at one point there were a lot of people who didn't know what the crap I was talking about. Now they mostly understand it. Or they at least understand it to a bit. It can help improve their trading or investing, which is my goal here. So that's where we sit. Royal Palms. Thanks, Mike. I'm learning a lot already and been subscribed only a few weeks, so I'm glad. That's the purpose of this channel. And if you ever feel like supporting it, you can do the super chats. There's Patreon. There's Buy Me a Coffee in the description. And that's the way we keep the information coming to people and helping the most people possible. With that, I will wrap it up. I will be back. I'm not going to be able to go through that tonight. I'd have to do a scan for that too. I generally don't trade the stocks that low. I'd have to do a scan for that, Michael. So maybe I can set something up at some point. It's just I got too much going on right now. You're welcome, Ted. With that, I shall talk to everyone tomorrow. By reminder, Bob on the live stream tomorrow morning. I might start it a little early because Bob will be on, so we get some analysis out of the way. If I can do that, pay attention. That's why you should subscribe and ring the bell. I'll probably, if I come on early, also put something on the Discord server. If you want to join that, it's a one-time small fee, not reoccurring. I'll put something in there too. With that, I'll chat with everyone later.